Hey there, rulers. Let's talk about one of my favorite rulers of all time, Lilias Petal, aka the Nine-Tailed Fox. We're talking about it in Wanderer, and we're talking about it in Paradox. Let's go ahead and jump right in. Ruler School is brought to you by Odyssey Games, where you can go to pre-order upcoming Force of Will sets, ccgprime.com for singles and supplies, cardodoko.com for those rulers in the international market looking for product, and to our guest lecturer members, Vite Ramen. Class is in session. So here we go. We're starting in Wanderer. The links for both of these lists are down in the description, so you can jump over to Force of Wind and copy them over and tweak them yourself. But let's talk about Lilias Petal. We got some really cool tools in the fact that we have the new sub-ruler, which we'll talk about in a moment. Do keep in mind, though, that Lilias Petal has been updated to now have Eternal instead of this card can't be destroyed, which is kind of relevant in the matchup that you saw us play this week. Also, it's kind of helpful against like Girl Staring At or anything else like that. So we got Lilias Petal, we got our new Golden Kitsune's Pearl, our Fate sub-ruler, which is absolutely incredible. It works really well. It's also very cheap to play. Most of the time you're only going to be paying one for this because you usually have a Killing Stone and a Resonator out on the field. Lets you recycle those 2-drop Resonators or destroy 2-drop Resonators, and lets you get a recycle of your Messenger of Lilias Petal. That is certainly easier to do in Wanderer than it is in Paradox, mainly because we're also playing Mikage Rhea, which is an excellent card to dump targets for it, being like Persephone to reanimate and pop something, Suya so that you can then turn it into a discard if you already have a Suya on board, or just to pay 2. And then, like I said, you can dump the Messenger of Lilias Petal to graveyard, which sets things up really nicely as well. So also the side here where it gets you ramp a stone whenever your J ruler enters, which is really awesome, and you also get that like chimera cycling ability, which is also really good. The other cool part here is that it makes us be able to peek at that top stone of our deck by tapping it and then choose if we're keeping it on there. So it helps our consistency in getting the Killing Stones active. And lastly, we've got that God's Heart to be able to just get a free Chimera. So even if Fox dies, we're still kind of sitting on a Chimera for free at some point in time, which is really nice. The Chimera package is surprisingly small. We're not actually playing too many of them because of the cycle. 2 Val Ravens as a way to finish the game off. A single copy of Griffin. I do not think you need more than just one, because normally your first Griffin will grab you the 2 stones, and then your second one will be Val Raven, which will then remove Griffin from the game because of its ability, and thus turn on the other Griffin to be able to use again. Because remember, Fox can grab it from the RFG or the deck or outside the game, which means he can get all kinds of things there. So as long as Griffin's not sitting in the graveyard, you're good to go. I also play a single copy of Manticore for some flexibility there, and a single copy of Old Hand Gimmick, once again, for flexibility. Now, we do play a single Doubt here in the sideboard. We were playing it mainboarded. I'm not entirely sure if this card actually does what I need it to do in the Wanderer format, so it's just kind of a consideration here. A repeatable Darkness Body that you can reanimate for 1 black seems pretty good. Going into the main deck, though, we're playing 2 copies of Gone because it helps us to ramp, finds us a Killing Stone after it ramps, and can serve as a nice threat outside of Chimeras. Again, if you can't get something like a Mask, if you can't get that off the board, or you're having a hard time being able to get into your Chimeras, you want threats that don't care. Gone is an excellent way to do that. 4 copies of our good friend Chubby 5-Tailed Fox as aka Long Tony, just incredible card. You sometimes want to pay him for 2 in this deck. Like you saw, if I would have been able to pay him for 2, I probably would have won that match. I just failed to remember my Stone Trigger. Suya, it's an excellent way to be able to rip your opponent's hand apart, get rid of pesky additions, get rid of pesky regalia like Mask. Luck of Corruption coming back in a big way. It's a discard heavy deck. We want to be able to make sure our opponent doesn't have anything like Alabaster, Spirit of the Mirage Ruins, it mirrors, stuff like that. We want to rip them out of their hand so that our Fox can go off without a hitch, and Look of Corruption helps with that. The Yigdor combo, we're playing 3 copies just because we want to see it as much as possible in this version of the list. Excellent threat, excellent way to be able to get your stones back, recycle, which is really nice, especially since we're also playing Memoria of Reincarnation. Persephone's, there's not really much to say here. It's an excellent piece of interaction while also serving as flexible spot removal. 3 copies of Lorite because it is nice to be able to try to say, hey, I want to stop your fate trigger, which is really cool, but also other good things like the untouchable, like the God's Art for 0 to be able to revive her after we've killed her once. Like there's all kinds of things you can do there. Single copy of Messenger Lilias Petal, as well as 2 copies of Spark of Life. Spark of Life is great if your Fox has Eternal, so you just kind of get to pop something, which is really good. This is new, 2 copies of Wu Xiao Wu. Board clears are really good. This body is just excellent. It also is a great way to be able to answer problem cards like Spirit of the Mirage Ruins or Alabaster or Ray Asdables that don't rely on enter effects. So Belligerent's Precision and 1000 power is pretty solid. And you're also in solo mode, so you'll get to recover whenever you play it. 3 copies of Council Grove. Excellent way to be able to clear boards. Like you see, extra ways to kill Ray Asdamals, ramps the stones, gets us pumped, and can even heal your ruler, which is really awesome. Heal all astral rulers. So if your Fox does get killed, you can get him back and get removing them from there. I've talked about this a lot. One-hit KO Anesthesia, I think, is an amazing card in this format, especially for this. You know, someone tries to respond to your activation with a Spirit of the Mirage Ruins. You wait for it to resolve. You pitch it a one-hit KO. You get that off the board, and then you get to resolve your Fox, which is really awesome. Once again, Arrival of the Conqueror, an amazing card. You can coin +1 this card to do some really good value, and again, have a really good sense of what your opponent's playing with there. And then lastly, the Mikake Reyes. Stone base wise, 4 killing stones. We're having 5 different stones here because we want Gone to be able to be 2000. And we primarily want wind stones, but we really do want to be able to maximize our chances of hitting double dark on one so that we can, you know, play Long Tony as well as possibly the Arrival of the Conqueror. Other cards for the sideboard to consider, a third Arrival of the Conqueror based on matchup, Three-Eyed Black Goat, and Fates Reunited, just kind of some generic options to fill out things for some additional mass hate. You'll also see that we're playing a Memoria of Reincarnation in the board. Those come in if we bring in the goats to maximize our chances of like a turn 1 Firestone. That's the options there. Moving over to Paradox. So Paradox Fox, this list again is also there. We lose some pretty big pieces. We lose Griffin, we lose Raya, we lose Look of Corruption, we lose Suya. So the deck shifts to a little bit more of a Callstone Pass control deck, where Fox kind of comes in at the end, not trying to get it in as quickly. You see we go down to only 2 Yigdors, we go up on the number of Wu Xiao Wus, up on the number of Rival of the Counters. We've brought in Sword of Progressions, again, because we're a Callstone Pass kind of style. For an additional threat, because we don't have Tony, we're going to play Nick Day. This makes our stones into threats as well and stops enter effects. A couple copies of Command Point, because 2-drops are going to be a little bit more prevalent in Paradox format. We're also going to be playing Command New Instructions to be able to protect our board. We have a lot of Resonators. There's not a lot of board wipes in Paradox, so spot removal is there. And so Goliath's New Instructions, haha, becomes better because it can give our stuff a barrier and make it bigger, which is nice. Lastly, we're playing some Ethereal Princesses because it's a body on front. It can start chipping our opponent to death, and if it gets sacked or discarded, again, it's ripping our opponent's hands to shreds. This deck relies on your opponent having as few resources as possible to then start making chimeras, and Ethereal Princess serves that purpose pretty well. You're also seeing a single copy of Academy City Gardening Unit, just again, help us get to that more stones piece, because all of our stones have a type. We're playing Fossil Girls over Lorites because we can play it for 1 green. It's also an excellent way to stop fate triggers. And lastly, we're playing Death Glare. Some of the best things against this deck are 1-drop Resonators. So if we can Death Glare out something like a Alabaster Dragon or a Muse Spirit, then suddenly, as long as those are sitting in the RFG, the next one costs 1 more. So you can make it more expensive to try to flash those in. Also, just in general, in a Resonator-based format, Death Glare is an incredible card because you're going to get more value out of it because most of the time people are going to be having to play Resonators, so you can tax them, which is really helpful. Stone base wise, you know, like I said here, we play a second resin drop. We also have now put in a Gleaming Obsidian Skull. We have a lot of Darkness Stone types here. So like we can get some value out of it, but mostly it's a Darkness Stone with a type. You could also play a basic Darkness Stone if you wanted to there. Side deck wise, we go up into the number of Manticores and up in the number of Old Hand Gimmicks because we've got the space, but the rest of the sideboard doesn't really change. So there you have it. That is Fox in both Wanderer and what we would do to start looking at him in Paradox. I still think he's got a lot of legs in Paradox, especially since there's so few board clears, and we're off, you know, things like Girl Staring At don't exist, which is also really nice, less interaction for him to have to deal with. So there you have it. Super fun to be able to revisit this ruler again. Hope you guys like it. Let us know what you would have done differently, especially in Paradox. I'm curious how you would approach Fox in Paradox in the comment sections down below. And until next time, this is DMO73 saying class dismissed.